You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel.
I am Clint. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline, your sportsbook experts. We love them. You're going to come to love them. Many of you have already yelled at Daniel for him saying that Jonas Hayes is his number 2 choice, and you are pissed.
We got to bring one of our own home, Clint. We got to bring our own home. There it is. It's time for a Georgia man to lead this program. I'm sorry. What would make you think that? Like, our previous success?
Nope.
Is that?
Nope.
It's time for somebody as unlike us as you could possibly get to come lead the program. That's what.
Do you trust anybody committing fraud to have their in-house counsel take care of the matter and be like, no, our in-house lawyers, they're going to look over it. They're going to be fine. They're going to research all the fraudulent activity. We'll get it rooted out.
It's just like, it's like your car's breaking down. And you're like, well, I could take it to a mechanic, but why don't I just let my cousin Jim work on it? I mean, he is in the family after all. And
last time he worked on it, it ran for like 2 weeks.
All right, now listen, Jonas Hayes is not your cousin Jim. He would be a great fit for the Georgia basketball program, and I would be excited to have him. He is not my first choice. We're going to get to my first choice today. We are a podcast for fans, by fans. If you have opinions about the basketball program, thank you. My gosh, leave me an angry comment about how dumb my takes are about the basketball program. If you have opinions about the basketball program, Georgia needs more of you. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's fine. We're here. We're talking about Tom Crean's replacement today because Tom Crean is inevitably going to be fired from the University of Georgia, or I will personally sit outside of Josh Brooks' office until he is. That's it. That's happening. Me and John from John Tweet Sports are going to be camped out outside of Josh Brooks' office. We'll be on shifts. And listen, he's not going to love it. He's not going to love it. It's going to be
Look, I'll tell you this right now. I will tell you this right now. You don't want that kind of energy outside your office. I've road tripped with this man.
All right. Clint, before we get into our stuff today, we should thank everyone who's here. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Thanks for downloading the audio podcast. Subscribe, leave us a rating, review, all those things. Leave us a comment, thumbs up, whatever. These are great things you can do to help out the show. Today, as we said, we're talking about basketball coaches. I'm going to give you the name of my number 1 most desired choice. But first, let's talk about some names that will not be.
That won't be the coach of Georgia basketball, and you should stop thinking about it right now.
First name is an easy one. It's Steve Forbes, who's the current coach of Wake Forest.
He just got an extension,
and he's a desirable coach. Like he's somebody that Georgia should have gone after. But first of all, he's at a comparable school, Wake Forest, and second of all, he just signed a massive extension. Now, sometimes a guy can sign a big extension and then leave and go to another. Normally that happens. I'll just say this. Normally that happens when the coach is the coach of a small school and they are trying to help that school out by signing a bigger contract with a bigger buyout so that when they leave, the athletic department of the school they're leaving has more money with which to go and hire the next head coach. I see no problem with it. It's basically getting your new employer to pay your old employer to replace you, which you understand a lot of these guys would want that because they have allegiances to those schools. Speaking of which, the Cleveland State head coach, Dennis Gates, also a name that's been thrown around. He just signed a contract extension. Got himself a big-time raise. He's not officially on the list of names I would say do not listen to because I do think Georgia might go after him. But I'm going to put him on this list as a name that I do not want Georgia to go after. I don't think there's anything wrong with this guy. I just don't think that he brings enough to the table compared to some of the other names that we're talking about. Now, he has more experience than a guy like Jonas Hayes, but he doesn't have the same connections to the Southeast. He doesn't have the same history of developing players. And honestly, his record at Cleveland State has been decent in the regular season, but it's not something that you're just going to look at and go, wow, that is sensational, like the record of the guy that we're going to talk about later in the show.
Yeah, it almost feels like a name. That feels to me like a Shaka Smart type situation where you go from a guy who's lower on the national stage, made a name for himself, but he struck while the iron was hot. He had lots of big runs, VCU, lots of tourney, all that stuff happened, and he got the Texas deal out of it. You want somebody that has that oomph higher when you hit it. And again, a notable record. He got a big contract, smaller school, but you really need to come crashing in to get up to the higher echelon.
Now, there's another name being thrown around that is a big name, and it's the name Andy Enfield. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. The first time I read that Andy Enfield was linked to the Georgia job, I read it 3 different times because I didn't believe. I was shocked. And still, I can't figure out why Andy Enfield would come coach Georgia, Clint. Any insight there? Andy Enfield, if you don't know, is the coach of USC.
Yep.
A school with equal to more basketball tradition than Georgia. Sorry, Georgia fans. Let's do something, and then maybe we'll have something.
That's fair.
And is currently having fantastic success under Andy Enfield right now. He was at Florida Gulf Coast, which made history, or was, turned heads in the NCAA tournament a few years ago. Lob Town, Lobville, Dunkville.
I don't know.
Sir Dunks a lot. I don't know what it was called, but they were one of the most fun NCAA tournament teams I can ever remember watching.
They really were.
He took the USC job, and he has been blatantly paying off players to get them to come to USC for years since, and has never been caught for it. I can't see him even considering the Georgia job.
No.
Maybe he wants out of California, but I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you this. Real quick question. You're in California.
Wouldn't you want out of California?
You're in LA. Y'all talk about like basketball school, rich tradition, all the athletic prowess you can get, all the boosters. This guy's in a pat location. I don't know why he's on this list. To be totally honest, it doesn't feel good. If he was to come to Georgia, I would smell conspiracy theory. I was going to be like, oh, he about to get an indictment at USC, and they made a deal that if they fire him, they wouldn't indict him. That's what I would think instantaneously. There's no reason for this guy to come this way.
You don't want that. That's just in case we need to be clear. That's not the guy that you want coaching your basketball program. All right. Let's transition and spend the next couple segments talking about the guy that I want to be hired.
Maybe there's a guy out there who has crashed in, who has a good record, who has made some run, Daniel. Maybe there's a guy out there.
Wouldn't he vault right to the top of your list of guys that you would want?
He vault to my top. But first, we'll let you know about Stat Hero. Stat Hero right now, it's March Madness. We're talking about basketball. This is an entire basketball episode because we know and you know college basketball is fun. And Stat Hero is a great place to take fantasy and online sports betting and marry them together and make a beautiful product. That's exactly what Stat Hero has done. Normally on fantasy sites, you have to do this weird red string theory in the back closet to try to figure out starting lineups and who's going to do who and how much budget I have to get. Stat Hero is daily fantasy made easy. And right now, NCAA single game pick'ems pit the star players against each other in an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Stat Hero gives you the advantage, resulting in gamers winning 4 times more often. Why? Because Stat Hero eliminates mystery. That. 4 times, y'all. 4 times. About who or what you are going up against. They simply post sets of players, and you can take with the set of players that you choose. Stat Hero is the easiest and fastest way to get your sports action fix. Right now, sign up for free at stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% match. stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, Clint. Let's get into the number one name on my list.
Okay.
His name is Matt McMahon.
There it is.
He is the head coach of the Murray State Racers, the Murray State basketball coach. He's been at Murray State for the last 7 years. So that's his only NCAA head coaching experience. Got the Murray State job. Was an assistant before that. Young guy. But in 7 years at Murray State, Clint,
What's he done?
he is 153 and 66.
Hold the phone.
That's okay.
You said 153 and 66 in 7 seasons.
That's right. That's a lot of wins.
It's a lot of wins.
He's doing very well. And the reason you may or may not know about the Murray State basketball program is because in those 7 years, he recruited, coached, and developed a guy by the name of John Morant, who is right now one of the most exciting young players in the National Basketball Association.
Come fight
me. He was the second overall pick in the NBA draft, and he was dynamic at Murray State, and he is dynamic in the NBA. And he, again, he was recruited by, he was coached by, he was developed by Matt McMahon, the head coach. All of those stops. He did not inherit him.
Nope.
He did not just get lucky and sign him out of high school. He was the guy that took John Morant and made him John Morant. Leroy Buchanan also is in the NBA right now, played at Murray State under Matt McMahon. So he's put multiple guys in the NBA. He's been to the NCAA tournament 3 times, including this year. They just won the OVC tournament. Again, they're going back to the NCAA tournament. Joe Lunardi has them as a 9 seed right now. So this is not a team that's sneaking in. You realize if they had lost in the finals of the OVC, they still would have made the NCAA tournament as an at-large team, which when you're Murray State, that's quite difficult to do. They're a 9 seed right now in the NCAA tournament. They were ranked in the AP poll as high as 19th this year. Do you remember, Clint, the last time that the University of Georgia was ranked in the AP poll? That's a trick question. To my knowledge, they've never been ranked in the AP poll in my entire life. Now I know you're going to comment and tell me that they were, and that's fine, but they haven't been. Let's just
Anthony Edwards is Anthony. Can I say the word?
He's a person, not a team.
Okay. Well,
that's right. Murray State, meanwhile, ranked 19th overall. This guy, Matt McMahon, I'm just going to say this right now. Somebody is going to hire this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to get a tremendous coach. Georgia needs a coach this year. And this is the year that Matt McMahon is going to get hired.
Because 7 years, now you go 8 years. Now all of a sudden you're looking for that jump. All of a sudden, Daniel, is Murray State ever going to win an NCAA tournament? No. Okay. Has he essentially done all that he can at Murray State?
I mean, all he can do is keep doing what he's been doing. The odds of listen, and the odds of Murray State winning a national championship are far greater than the odds of Georgia State football winning a national championship. You understand? Or Louisiana winning a national championship in football. It is possible. And Gonzaga is the proof.
Sure.
Because they are Gonzaga. Butler made it to the national championship game. But those stories are very rare. He's not taking Murray State to those heights. And he knows that. And so
He is looking.
He needs
He
to
has
get
an
out.
agent right now. His agent,
Yeah.
he has told, here's what I'm looking for. And Georgia fits a lot of those molds. And he has the opportunity to get the Georgia job where other coaches would not. And they wouldn't even apply for it, to be completely honest. Like, they wouldn't even look into it because of just how abysmal the program is. This guy could bring this track record. Now he has a product in the program that he can carbon copy at UGA.
Yes.
And it work beautifully.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk a little bit more in the next segment about some more reasons why I think specifically he would be a good fit at the University of Georgia. But this is my number one choice. This is the guy that I hope Georgia goes.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a inside track. I'm going to tell you why Jonas Hayes has a greater likelihood of becoming a coach that we don't want, and why this man has an opportunity to become a coach that we do want. After this break. But I'm going to first tell you about Run Your Pool. Daniel, March Madness again is upon us. And right now, Run Your Pool is the place you need to go to put all of your brackets. I don't care where you have brackets. I don't care where you print them off, and you better print them off, and you better put them on your house, and you better put the ink pen on them. Anybody got a pencil out here? I don't want none of your business. I don't trust you. What are you doing with your life? Get a Sharpie. Get it out. Do your business. You need to start thinking now where you're going to run your brackets. Are you going to go with the usual, or are you going to go for the best? We've done our homework, and we here at Locked On Bulldogs are running our brackets with runyourpool.com. Along with standard brackets, Run Your Pool offers game types like Survivor or Pick X, both really fun. They have options for edit scoring, and they offer more intel to make your picks, all the stuff you won't find at ESPN or CBS. Clearly, we believe in Run Your Pool because, like I said, we're running our brackets over there. There's no truer test than that. If you want to play against us for a shot at cash prizes, join us, won't you? runyourpool.com/lockedon. While you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family. Enter promo code Pure Madness at checkout for $10 off your custom pool. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon. Promo code Pure Madness.
Also want to let you know about BetOnline. They are your online sportsbook experts. They are the place that Clint and I go to place all of our wagers on sports. Whether that's college basketball, conference tournaments, NCAA tournament coming up, whether it's golf, the Players is coming up, the Masters is after that, whether it's the NBA coming down the home stretch and heading into the playoffs, the NHL, the Stanley Cup's right around the corner. No matter what the sport of your choice, football futures are out. You can bet on some Heisman things. By the way, Clint, did you see that somebody at ESPN started talking about Stetson Bennett to win the Heisman?
Oh, I saw, Daniel. I saw.
I'm just going to leave it right
the Weldon
there.
Brothers
I did not know the Weldon brothers had a job at ESPN, but kudos to them for getting that position. BetOnline.net is your online sportsbook expert. That's the only place Clint and I trust. It's the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, and the only place we would go to place our spreads, parlays, money lines, over-unders, or what have you. Go there right now, enter the promo code Locked On, and you get a bonus on your initial deposit. That's free money with which you can wager, free money to bet on all sorts of things. BetOnline.net, enter the promo code Locked On. All right, Clint, you said you're going to give the people a little side-by-side of my number one and number two choices.
Look, I need to caveat this. I am not suggesting that Jonas Hayes could become like this. I'm not, or will be like this. I'm saying he could be like this, not that he will. I'm talking percentages. And if you're running hires, you're running these things, since we all don't know. Was Kirby Smart the best hire UGA football has ever made in the history? Yes, he was. Was there a chance, a percentage that it didn't work out? Yes, there was. Of course there was. He'd never been a head coach.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to mitigate those risks, and you're trying to find the highest ceiling, the lowest floor, and you have to weigh it. Maybe he has an incredible ceiling and an incredible floor, and you just say to yourself, you know what? We're going to go for it. We're going to try to rally around. We're going to mitigate these things. Yada, yada. Okay. I'm going to give two names out, Daniel. That fit all the things Jonas Hayes has going for him. Okay. And then I'm going to take two names, just looking around the landscape of college basketball, and talk about what Matt has going at Murray State. Okay.
I'm going to use
I'm going to use the name Patrick Ewing. And I'm going to use the name Juwan Howard. Okay? I know.
He slapped him right across the face.
He slapped him right across that dang face.
Now again, just like he was just a big Eastern European fellow on one of those YouTube videos.
Should have
just slapped him right across the face.
He took the first shot too and didn't even move. He just.
If you didn't watch those YouTube videos, T's and P's to you.
Patrick Ewing, Juwan, they alma maters, homegrown, talented, basketball IQ, big name, big splash. Now Juwan Howard, again, face slapping and all that aside, but the product hasn't been on the court where it's been exponentially greater, Daniel, than previous.
Correct. I mean, Michigan was in a really good spot when Juwan Howard got hired. So
that's what I mean.
Kind of hard to get exponentially greater unless he comes out winning natty after natty.
This is what I mean. And right now, that product they're not the juggernaut, Daniel.
Correct. And Georgetown is a dumpster fire under Patrick Ewing. They have been an absolute dumpster fire.
Jonas Hayes has that potential. Not saying he would be, but I'm saying the percentage is greater. Mcmahon comes in, and there's a greater likelihood that he fits in the mold more of the Tony Bennett's, Daniel. More of the Gonzaga, more of that happens rather than the floor. The ceiling is greater for long-standing sustainability with a proven track record than with Jonas Hayes. That is why I like this being one instead of Jonas Hayes being one.
Yeah, and I think people make a big deal about recruiting Georgia as the Georgia basketball coach, which I get because all the talent in the world is in the state of Georgia, all that. As I said on yesterday's show, and if you haven't listened to it, you can go back and listen to yesterday's show. We talk about Jonas Hayes, and we talk about what's important to us in a head coach. As I said on yesterday's show, first of all, recruiting isn't just high school anymore. And so you're not just recruiting the high schools in the state of Georgia. That's only half of what recruiting is now. And second of all, the only thing the Georgia head basketball coach needs to do to recruit the state of Georgia is win.
The power G carries weight, y'all.
Win.
That's it.
No matter what, you could say. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do to recruit in the state of Georgia if you're the University of Georgia. Like, you don't have to, sure, we could bring in a guy like Jonas Hayes, and he is going to have inroads, and he's going to bring in players that are probably better in the short term than the players Matt McMahon could bring in. That is absolutely true. And if Matt McMahon gets hired, does he have ties to Georgia? Not particularly. Does he recruit the state of Georgia very well? Not particularly. He is going to have to hire the right assistant coaches. He's going to have to surround himself with the right assistant coaches to be able to recruit the area he's in, all of that. But if he wins, I'm just not all that worried about that angle. And that's why he's number one on my list and not number two. Because, listen, I told you Matt McMahon's been to 3 NCAA tournaments. He had this team. He had this current Racers team ranked as high as 19th in the AP poll. He's sitting at a 9 seed right now, projected by Joe Lunardi in the NCAA tournament, which means he's going to have a great shot to not just make the tournament, but win a game in the tournament and move forward, advance into the weekend. And he's doing that, Clint. Do you know what the highest rated recruiting class that he's ever signed, according to 24/7 Sports, is?
It's not going to be the top 15.
It's the 94th rated recruiting class in the country. 94th. Okay. It's the only one he's ever signed in the top 100.
That's
only one he's ever signed. Now, did I tell you he has 2 NBA players currently in the league?
I was just going to say.
2 NBA players currently in the league. And he's only signed 1 top 100 recruiting class, and it was the number 94 class in the country. So
It's absurd.
You compare that to Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
who has, I think, 3 NBA players in the league?
Uh-huh.
KCP, Anthony Edwards, and Nick Claxton. And how many, that's how much recruiting success have we had? And yet, what has it translated into? How many NCAA tournament appearances has it translated into? How many NBA players has it translated into? This guy takes what he has and he makes greatness out of them. I am 100% confident that if you gave Matt McMahon Georgia's current roster, you could add 5 to 7 wins to the season right off the top without changing anything else. And then if you gave Matt McMahon multiple years with those guys, you're only going to see exponential growth from there because developing players is what he does. I actually think it's the greatest strength of both of these coaches, Matt McMahon and Jonas Hayes, and that's why they're number 1 and 2 on my list, Clint.
You said Ja Morant. Now we could talk Tom Crean and we can go Ant-Man. Do you know what Ja Morant, coming out of high school, Daniel, how many offers he had to go play college basketball?
He had no stars.
Zero
Stars.
Literally.
None stars.
Did not get a college offer besides Murray State. He was discovered because they were there to see another player. Guys, that is what Georgia has at minimum for 2 or 3 years in the program. You're going to have to find those guys all over the place and develop them. That's just because we don't have a pipeline yet. Maybe the Power G is going to carry weight, get that in, and all of a sudden you're going to have the talent influx. But until then, you got to develop players, and that's exactly what this guy does. Give me that. And if you watch the Racers, Daniel, they're a fun watch. It hits my.
You talked about style of play yesterday. And I'm just telling you, if you haven't, go back and watch the OVC championship game.
Ooh.
Do that and enjoy watching a little Murray State basketball. And just paint the red and black on there. Just paint the red and black on there and see what your heart does. See what your heart tells you.
It goes pitter patter. Hey, that does it for Locked On Bulldogs here on Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We will see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.